Oh, and Ted, we are beyond now. Papers.
Fantastic. And should we just start? Good morning. We now have quorum. Fantastic. Thank you all for coming in. Welcome to today's meeting, today's mobility working group meeting. That is March 16th, 2023. My name is Councilmember Jose Rodriguez from the City of National City. I'll be chairing the meeting today. Clerk, can you please confirm that we have quorum?
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum for this meeting.
Fantastic. Why don't we do a quick round of introductions? And I guess I'll start. My name is Jose Rodriguez, council member from the City of National City, elected in 2020. Very much look forward to working in this very important working group for Sandag.
Jimmy, Principal Traffic Engineer, City of Santee.
Mo Samak, City of Solana Beach.
Sam Hassan, City Traffic Engineer, City Vista.
Alyssa Muto, Director of Sustainability Mobility, City of San Diego.
Lisa Madsen, Senior Planner, Port of San Diego.
Ted Anasis, Manager, Airport Authority.
Matt Marquez, Transit Planner at MTS.
Hello, Kurt Lutz, Assistant Director, Transportation, UC San Diego. Just visiting today. Thank you.
City Engineer, City of Pelly.
Tila Cotter, City Traffic Engineer for City of Oceanside.
Eric Minichilli, Deputy Director of Public Works, Imperial Beach.
Good morning, Julie Procopio, City Engineer for the City of Escondido.
Mario Sanchez, City Engineer, City of El Cajon.
Frank Rivera, Principal Civil Engineer, City of Chula Vista.
Nathan Schmidt, Transportation Planning and Mobility Manager for City of Carlsbad.
Jennifer Williamson, Staff Coordinator for the Mobility Working Group.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Before we begin our agenda, I would like to review the meeting process for both the working group members as well as the members of the public if you wish to participate. For working group members, when you would like to speak, you could simply raise your hand. Tessa, can you please provide a quick reminder on how the public comments work?
Thank you. For public commenters, as noted on the cover page of the meeting agenda, you may email your comments in advance, and you may also provide live comments during the meeting. If you are here in the room and would like to provide a comment on any item, please complete a speaker slip and have that brought to me. And if you are a member of the public joining us on Zoom, raise your virtual hand during the item you would like to comment on. The raise hand feature is on the Zoom toolbar. For those on the phone, you enter *9 to join on your telephone. I will then call on members of the public in the room first for public comments, followed by virtual commenters. For those virtually, I will call you either by your last name or the last 3 digits of your phone number. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Clerk. Do we have any working group members that have any questions before we continue? No? Okay, kicking off item number 1. Who do we have providing that?
No, we're just approving the, public comments.
Sorry.
Sure, do we have any, or I'm sorry, Tessa, do we have any public comments virtually?
I have one virtual public commenter for item 1. I have, and now 2, I apologize. Blair Beekman, followed by Nicole Burgess. Sorry, I'm having technical issues. There we go. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. Thanks a lot for the meeting today. I had 2 points I wanted to make at non-agenda public comment. One is a real good luck to Sandag. In the next 6 months, you're working on, well, I guess it's now down to about 3 months, 4 months about auditing issues. And, there's been a real big meeting, big concern about the accountability and openness of the auditing process that versus, what needs to be a bit more thought of on a more singular individual personal level. And, there was debate over that in February. I think there's a way that, if we just make it understandable that if board persons want, want to ask about the auditing process. I think this falls under non-agenda public comment. I just wanted to remind yourselves that you can have the ability to, be open about the process. We should have that ability
Mr. Biller,
to be open about the process.
thank you so much. So this is
And
speak about any particular subjects on the agenda. We would be, glad to hear your comments.
Our next commenter is
no,
Nicole.
ma'am, excuse me, I'm not done speaking yet. I said
Mr. Beekman, if your comments are on something with the Mobility Working Group under our purview, you may speak. In the meantime, we're going to go to Nicole Burgess. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Jose Rodriguez and all other members of this committee. It's Mobility Working Group is a great committee, and congratulations on your appointment. All of you are fabulous, and I enjoy all of your cities, and I would be there in person, but I'm riding home from LA, which I'll get to. I didn't see Caltrans there, but hey, I'm going to get to experience getting home without the train and a car. So, but my question for you all and staff, hopefully, I didn't see Transnet Amendment Ordinance on the agenda today, so that's, if it is on the agenda, please cut me off. Otherwise, I looked in quite a few agenda material packets and I didn't see any conversations. And the Mobility Working Committee and Subcommittee has had conversations on this item. And I'm just trying to follow along and stay educated and stay engaged with this topic. So if there's any meeting amendments or anything, if staff could possibly send that to me, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, I look forward to a great meeting this afternoon. Thanks.
That completes the public commenters.
Thank you so much. So moving on to the next item, that is item number 2, approval of the meeting minutes. Do we have any comments from the public, clerk?
There are no public commenters on this item.
Any working group members that would like to comment on this item? No? Okay, if not, I will be entertaining a motion to approve.
Frank Rivera, Chula Vista, make a motion to approve the November 10th, 2022 meeting minutes as submitted.
Do I hear a second?
Yes, Mario Sanchez, City of Alcona, second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rivera and second by Mr. Sanchez. All in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, the motion passes. Moving on to item number 3, where Jennifer Williamson will introduce the staff and providing updates on Sandag's initiatives.
Okay, so we have several great updates for you guys today. You're going to hear 6 different staff members, so prepare yourselves. First up, we have April De Jesus, who's going to give us an update on the Flexible Fleet Program.
Hi, everyone. My name is April De Jesus. I'm a mobility planner at Sandag, and I'm the new representative for this Flexible Fleets program. And I'm just here to give you an update on what's going on. Next slide. So we are actively working with the City of San Diego to prepare for a launch of the Pacific Beach Neighborhood Electric Vehicle Pilot Project, which is anticipated to start this summer for the next 2 years. And it is a partnership with the City of San Diego to connect from the Blue Line trolley station to the Pacific Beach community. And then we are also actively working with representatives from Southeast San Diego and Oceanside to find funding for an upcoming pilot for those 2 areas in response to the flexible fleet strategy that we just completed in December. We submitted 2 clean mobility grants recently, and we look forward to hearing from that opportunity. And I'll give you an update on that the next meeting. Next slide. We are actively working with our contracts team to get signatures for our flexible fleets bench. We currently have signatures for the circuit agreement, which is a neighborhood electric vehicle shuttles, and we are working on finalizing the agreements for the other categories. This flexible fleet bench is open to local jurisdictions to use through our SANDAG contracts process. And if you would like more information, feel free to follow up with an email to us. We were able to negotiate terms, which includes data sharing, which is really important for future pilots and operations and overall planning for the San Diego region. Next slide. And then we are going to be updating with more information on our flexible fleets program at our SANDAG website. And you're welcome to also email us if you have additional questions. Thank you.
Any questions for April before we move on to Alex and Raven? Oh, certainly.
Alyssa Muto, City of San Diego. So what are your, I believe you've executed the NEV contract. What are your timings for the other procurements?
So the next priority that we're working on with our contracts team is to prioritize the VIA contract, and we're actively working on the LIFT contract as well. We're just kind of trying to get them all at the same time. We should get an update within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. If we can request that car share also be considered a pretty high priority for execution, I think that's something the City of San Diego would be interested in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, April.
Thank you.
Alex and Raven, if you guys want to come on up, I think you're going to be talking about local streets and roads.
Yes.
Right.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Raven Vasquez, and I'm an intern working in technology planning. I would like to thank each jurisdiction for their participation, as well as the completion of the 2022 Transnet Local Streets and Roads Report. It is crucial for each jurisdiction to participate, as this will be a deciding factor as to how funds will be dedicated to each jurisdiction within the San Diego County region. While there were many reported projects such as improvements to curb management, the addition of bike lanes, resurfacing of roads, pedestrian crossing, and technical enhancements, there were also reports of larger projects as well. This can be seen through the City of Oceanside's rehabilitation and restoration of a 95-year-old Pier View Bridgeway and lifeguard headquarters, or the City of La Mesa's implementation of citywide fiber optic communication, or the City of San Diego's implementation of a 40-mile bicycle corridor. On behalf of SANDAG, we ask that each local jurisdiction keep up the good work, and we can't wait to see the future improvements to be made. With that being said, this item will be presented at the upcoming May ITALK committee meeting, and I would like to thank you all, and I will see you all this fall for the next reporting cycle.
Thank you, Raven. Any questions for Raven? Okay, so next up on the agenda, and these are short updates, so we are going to get a few of them, is Cecily Taylor to talk about the regional plan network for the 2025 regional plan.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cecily Taylor. I'm a senior planner here at SANDAG, and I'll be overseeing the network development for the 2025 regional plan. So I think many of you were hopefully able to attend the joint working group meeting last month. So you heard that we're just getting started on the 2025 planning process. And we have a few requests for you as kind of the more technical staff that make up our working group. And so I'll review these quickly, but follow up with an email with more specific instructions. So first off, our modeling team is looking for your help to ensure that our travel demand model network is as accurate as possible, both for existing, recent, and forecast years, specifically looking at years 2019, 2022, 2035, and 2050. So if you happen to have GIS files that represent your jurisdiction's network, then that would be fantastic, but I know not everyone will have that. So we'd like to work with those of you who don't to review what we currently have reflected in our network and identify what changes might be needed. The second ask is related to the regional arterial system, or the RAS, which consists of the projects in your jurisdictions that provide regional connectivity and are therefore eligible for the Regional Transportation Congestion Improvement Program funding under the Transnet Ordinance. And we publish this list in our regional plan. So as we put that together every 4 years, we ask you for updates, and this is your opportunity for that. And lastly, I wanted to ask a bit more of an open-ended question. We're interested in what projects you might be planning that are of regional significance or could be of regional significance so that we can align our planning around those and look for opportunities for coordination. So as an example, we know that the city of San Diego has included some projects like Skyway Transit, some streets that have flexible lanes that are designated for carpool and transit use in their latest community plans. So those are the sorts of things where we'd like your help to identify those that are in each of your jurisdictions so that that can inform our regional transportation network. And unlike the other requests, this would apply to all of you who make up this working group, not just the cities and the county. So I know this is a lot. Again, I'll be following up with an email and including a link to a shared spreadsheet for you to submit those requests and your project inventory, we're calling it. And we're asking for the responses to that by the end of April. But we can work together if you'll need more time. And I'll be your point of contact. So reach out if you have any questions. And thank you so much for your help. Looking forward to working with you as we are working on the regional plan.
Alyssa?
Any questions? Yeah.
Is this a thing where a gentleman named Timothy contacted me needing ADT counts? Is this what you're referring to as some data that you're needing or?
No, I'm not sure what that request was.
all right.
This is separate.
All right, perfect, thanks.
Yeah. Alyssa Muto, City of San Diego. So you said you needed by the end of April. Is that a firm timeline? And I'm thinking we have our mobility master plan that's going to be pretty well complete by the end of the fiscal year. For us, that's the end of June. And could share that information because we are looking at it from regional, key regional connections that go through our jurisdiction. Is there enough space to that April to make it useful to provide that to you by June?
I think so. We can kind of confirm with the modeling staff, or it'll be an ongoing process. So we're hoping to get as much as we can in this early stages, but there will definitely be more opportunities to make changes and get input. So yeah, I think that should be fine.
Terrific. Thank you.
On the regional arterial system, you mentioned something about the transit ordinance funding. I can't remember how that works. Is there like a specific allocation every year for regional projects?
I don't have the answer to that, but we can definitely follow up.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Cecily? No? All right. Thanks, Cecily.
Thank you.
And I'm next up. Whew. So I have a slide. I can't do anything without a visual graphic here. Okay. So just to give you an update, we have been working as part of the Transnet subcommittee for the ordinance amendments for about 3 or 4 months now. And we have been, I would call it the fast and furious. So we've been meeting every 2 weeks. And we've gotten about 5 of the topics, no, probably 4 topics done, I'll say, at this point. So the first that we discussed was transit operations and transit operator eligibility for their local TDA funds. A lot of discussion about that. And we are going to be prepared to bring that back to this mobility working group fairly soon. We tackled the local streets and road program. And I'm not going to give you an update on everything we talked about because you're going to take a deep dive on this here pretty quickly. But we have had a resolution on that for a recommendation back to this committee. Then we also have been talking about bike, pedestrian, active transportation. So we are hoping, we do not have this one resolved yet, but we're hoping to bring that back to you as well in our maybe May or potentially a June meeting. And then finally, the last item is Dig Smart. And the group is going to hear Dig Smart an update. I think they heard an update at the last meeting, but then we're going to get the resolution for that at the next meeting. So those are the 4 that we should have completed and be bringing back to this mobility working group for a recommendation. And then we'll begin working on the next several, which will include probably a longer time commitment because we're going to be working out the items up here that you see are social equity, the performance monitoring and reporting, and then the funding estimates. So all of those require, a lot more discussion. And I believe that we'll have those resolved hopefully towards the end of the year, and that'll allow us to come back to this committee and then start the actual drafting of the new transit ordinance. So that's an update for where we are. And I hope that the speaker before is still listening, because this is kind of where we're at. So you'll hear more at this committee with a full presentation. Hopefully, I want to say May, potentially June at a special meeting, depending upon if we get it all done. So any questions for me? Good, good. That's what I like. Okay. So let's move on to the next item. We have Emily Doss here to talk about your Form 700.
Hi, everyone. I am a planner on Sandag's mobility team. So the Form 700 is the economic interest form that every PAC member, working group member, board member at Sandag is required to fill out. And the deadline for all of you guys to submit this form is April 3rd. So you should have received a email from form700@sdcounty.k.gov. It could be in your junk box, so just double check. I have a list of everyone who has yet to submit their form for the year 2022. So just check with me if you are unsure if you have submitted that. Any questions?
If we had to fill out a Form 700 for our employer, do we have to fill out two?
I can answer that. As the clerk of the board, I'm in charge of Form 700s. So Lisa, if your employer is the county of San Diego or files through the county's database, South Tech Hosting, your filing should cover all your positions in your account. For cities, I would say probably 90% of the cities use a different database. So your city filing does not count for your county filing. The county filing is what Sandag files through, which is South Tech Hosting. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I can check your account in our database. Emily can provide my email address. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Or you can look anywhere online and find it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So last year, we spent a lot of time tracking people down. So I want to encourage you to please fill out your form so we don't have to track you down. So
Yeah, this will
Anyway.
make our job much easier.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, last but not least, Josh Clark to give an update on something I don't have written down. So
AV.
Josh?
Yes, no problem. So I'm an active transportation planner here in Sandag's Engineering and Construction Division. I have an update, a quick report out on your AB 43 Technical Task Force. So we met last Tuesday, the 7th. As a quick background, AB 43 and AB 1938 provided local authorities greater flexibility in setting and reducing speed limits through updates to the California Vehicle Code. Last year, this working group sent the recommendation letter on reducing speed limits to Caltrans, and we've been closely following the way those proposed revisions have been incorporated in drafts of the California MUTCD. Caltrans listened. I'm happy to report that some of your recommendations were literally incorporated word for word. Now we're anticipating a major milestone by the end of the month, publication of the California MUTCD Revision 7. So following this update, we recognize there's an opportunity for knowledge sharing. So we're working with ITE to host a webinar. We're fortunate that California MUTCD's editor and CTCDC Secretary Johnny Bular will be on the panel. We will let you all know when that panel gets scheduled. Ahead of that, there is a standing invitation for any working group members or staff from your agencies to join the City of San Diego, City of Escondido, and County of San Diego staff on our task force. Reach out to Ashley or me, and we'll get you invited to our 30-minute bi-monthly meetings. And then the next update, switching gears here to Bike Month in May. So specifically, Bike Anywhere Day is scheduled for Thursday, May 18th, and we'll be aiming to do our annual update to the iBike map. You'll recall that I would come to the Active Transportation Working Group and request these review with staff at your agencies to ensure that we're capturing your bikeway networks appropriately. And so we'll be doing that again next month for Bike Month in May. All right, that's it. Yeah.
Is it ITE or ITC?
ITE San Diego has been the key help. So yeah, Huang has been coordinating and yeah, we'll likely loop in other sections throughout California to be in attendance since it's germane to all the agencies throughout California. Yes. Yeah, it'd be nice if Johnny would come down to San Diego, but I expect it to be virtual.
Josh, I believe Frank has a question.
Yeah, Frank Rivera, Chula Vista. Yes, Josh, will we receive the resolution, the template resolution that our local agencies adopt every year for a Bike Anywhere Month?
That's a good question. I'll follow up with formerly the iCommute staff. I have seen and reviewed that template and we've made updates. So
Okay.
I trust you will, and I don't know where that ended up and what the process is, but it has been updated this year to reflect Bike Anywhere Day.
Okay, yes, thank you, because we're trying to schedule for April or early May, and so I need to have that template.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll follow up with you today. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. No problem.
I can respond to that just briefly. I do understand that our PIO office will be sending out information on Bike Anywhere Day and month to all of the jurisdictions in the very near future. Probably will come from the clerk of the board. Absolutely. Normally we send it through to the city managers, clerks and elected officials, but I'm happy to also copy mobility working group members.
Frank Rivera, Chula Vista. I think what I typically see is that it'd be like on a board of directors agenda. They adopt the resolution, which encourages the local agencies to adopt their own resolution using the template. So I'm wondering if it's not on next week's board of directors or maybe the first meeting in April for the board of directors.
I believe that item is on the March 24th
Okay.
agenda. It should be posting later this week.
Yes.
If not, it will definitely be on the next one.
Okay, thank you very much.
And with that, we are done with staff updates. So I'll pass back to the chair.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Do we have any questions or comments from the public that are pertaining to this item?
I have two public commenters that are virtual. Blair Beekman, go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Sorry for my earlier explicative that came out. That was an accident. I'm really sorry that happened. For this item, I just wanted to speak to, there was a lot of items that we're planning with, bicycle safety issues and the like. And kind of what I wanted to conclude my initial non-agenda public comment about was that a lot of items today will talk about the concepts of planning for bicycle things and such. New road programs, Vision Zero things, all these sorts of things in their importance. We have to also be considering what tech accountability is an incredible important part of the process and tech itself. And when you have so much tech involved with these things, to be considering tech accountability practices can really help yourselves go a long way in defining the concepts of sustainability and positiveness. And what I think just people of the community would be incredibly happy to hear that you guys are also considering what are the civil protection ideas, what are the good open public policy practices with all the technology for all of these new programs you want to be developing. When you put those two things together, that's the holistic, sustainable future I think we're really striving for, and the positivity that people will want to be involved and be thankful to be involved. That's covering all our bases. And we don't want to learn how to do open public policy work with tech better. We're not at that place yet. I hope we really can be it one day. And I just wanted to remind yourselves of those things and what you'll be talking about in upcoming items today as well. And with that said, I try to make the public comment time as a place that can hopefully offer yourselves a few small facts and can illuminate and try to make clear concepts that you're trying to develop yourselves that may be difficult to speak to. And that can be a good role of public comment time to do that. I tried to offer at non-agenda public comment time just a few ways that we can think about openness and accessibility for the auditing process that I think we all need help with. And just a simple reminder of that. That's all I wanted to try to do. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Biller. Just as a quick reminder to individuals on public comment, we very much appreciate input from our public. We encourage it. We would like to stick to the individual items that are presented if we wish to provide a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more public commenter, Nicole Burgess. Please go ahead.
Great. Thank you for the time to just briefly comment on a couple of those items that you presented, because there was a lot of great info. And thank you, Jennifer Williamson, for giving an update on the Transnet amendment. And just as I really appreciate all the great work you guys are all doing in all the streets and roads, looking at that and how we can allocate space for all users. So that's super important. Just as a stakeholder that was part of the active transportation working group at Sandag, we had community organizations and stakeholders from outside of the community that are in favor of this and had a voice on those boards. And now that the mobility board has been kind of changed up, we've kind of lost that position. And so appreciate any opportunity to have voice, especially as you are talking about the bike ped, new ways of looking at that amendment. And then just quickly, I'm going to just do a quick shout out for Choyas Creek Regional Trail alignment from the Bayshore Bikeway all the way to La Mesa. So a regional asset. So looking forward to that 2025 plan and more about like that huge vision for the watershed and connectivity for safer access for all of us to commute and move through this beautiful county without a car. So BRT lanes. So thank you. Lots of great information, and I appreciate the time to comment.
Thank you. That completes the public commenters.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the public commenters on the particular items. Do we have any questions from the working group members? Comments? Thoughts? Okay, so this is just an informational item, so we'll just be moving on to item number 4. Mr. Rob Owen from Caltrans will be providing a presentation on the California Department of Transportation updates and announcements. He is, I believe, online. Yes?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I wanted to make sure that first of all, up front here, I'll put up the announcement for Clean California Cycle 2. So I hope that's visible as far as that information. I'm Rob Owen. I'm a planner here at the Division of Planning and Local Assistance in District 11 here in San Diego. Those of you who were on the SanTech and CTAC committees before remember that we used to provide updates on all the different local assistance programs that are coming up. So I appreciate the opportunity to start providing that again. And so those of you who do work on a lot of local assistance grants and projects probably know that we have a new district local assistance engineer, Brian Ott. And so both he and I hope to actually come in for one of the future mobility working group meetings and just do the actual FaceTime. First, and so I'll just kind of mention a few items, and then I'm going to be sending out my talking points here so that everybody can have them for points of reference with the meeting notes. The inactive projects that local agencies in Sandag are working on, they've really been much improved as far as invoicing. So that's a very low percentage of projects that are inactive now. That's been a really big push the last few years. Those of you who are involved in that, and there's a much more of a process of accountability. So we really thank you for all the agencies have been doing to help keep up with the invoicing. Those of you who are processing requests for authorization, for this federal fiscal year. We're still accepting those, but we're kind of getting past the deadline. So we just wanted to make sure that if you have any projects to get allocated this fiscal year, to send them into the area engineer who is assigned to your city or county. The other program besides Clean California is called the Reconnecting Communities Highway to Boulevard Pilot Program. And so there's a call for projects that will be coming out. So we just had a workshop earlier this month. So all the draft guidance and draft application materials are online on the Caltrans website, so that those of you who are interested, you can kind of review and get a preview of what's going to be called for in that program. The project will fund the conversion of key underutilized highways in the state into multimodal corridors to reconnect communities divided by transportation infrastructure. And so these legacy impacts will be addressed through community-based transportation planning, design, demolition, and/or reconstruction of city streets, parks, or other infrastructure. And again, hopefully I did the share screen right. If not, I'll send a link out later. But the Clean California program, that application cycle is posted for cycle 2. It's the only other cycle we know of. It's kind of a special state program that's some of you, like National City, Imperial Beach, El Cajon, all have projects from cycle 1 that are moving forward quite well, I understand. So now's your chance to go for a second funding cycle here. So hard deadline on that is April 28th. Again, there's workshops online. These have been recorded and posted. So please direct any questions to our office if you have information that you would like to know about what qualifies for that, because it's kind of a breadth of projects that can qualify for these new grant programs. Those of you who have TTC allocation requests, the next meeting that we can accept allocation request packages is for the May 17th meeting. So those are due to our office tomorrow. And there is a lot of training that many of you and your staff have participated in, like the Area Engineer Academy, the Federal Aid Series. Well, there's a whole bunch of ones. It's provided through our local training assistance program. A lot of those classes are online and recorded, but they are actually starting to do a few classroom-based classes. So our training coordinator, Alma Sanchez, usually sends out she has a mailing list for a lot of you at your city. So if you want to be included in some of those announcements, please let us know. But then I should also just put a plug in here for our local assistance blog, which goes into a lot of these announcements in a lot more detail. And that's a very easy website, localassistanceblog.com. So if you're not already subscribed to that, since these meetings are few and far between, you'll get a lot more updates in the interim. And I think that's all I wanted to cover right now, but just a quick reminder too that any federally funded local assistance projects do have requirements to meet Title VI documentation. There was some training last month on that, the Civil Rights Academy. And so that's been recorded and posted online if anybody wants to review the Title VI requirements. So I'll leave it at that for now and wish everybody the best on their Clean California application cycle. Oh, and if you haven't heard already, the last Highway Safety Improvement Program Cycle 11 projects just got announced. So if you had applied and haven't heard yet, you should be hearing any day now if your project was successful in that grant application cycle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Owen. Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
There are no public commenters on this item.
Thank you. Any working group members that would like to provide comments or questions? No? Okay, so this is just an informational item. We're moving on to item number 5. We have a presentation on Clean Transportation Program update by Samaya Elder and Natasha Dulick from Sandag.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Natasha Dulick, and I'm a planner here on the climate team at Sandag. I'm joined by Samaya Elder, another member of our team, and we will be providing an update on 2 of our Clean Transportation Program projects. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're going to be providing 2 updates on 2 Clean Transportation Program projects. The first being the medium heavy duty zero emission vehicle blueprint project, then the A to Z program, and then we'll have some time for questions and comments. So I want to start things off by just talking a little bit about the Clean Transportation Program. The program is a part of our regional plan, and it is housed within our climate team. The state of California, as you all know, has some very ambitious goals for clean transportation. So in order to meet our fair share, we want to incorporate those into our Clean Transportation Program. And our program focuses on 3 main areas. So incentive programs, innovative pilot projects, and then planning studies and regional strategies that focus on ZEVs and ZEV infrastructure. And that includes zero emission buses, trucks, medium duty, heavy duty charging infrastructure, all that good stuff. And if you'd like to know more about the incentive programs or the innovative pilot projects, please reach out to us. But today we're just going to be talking about those 2 strategies. So we're going to start with the medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicle blueprint. It's a long name, but the goal of the blueprint is to identify near and long-term strategies that are going to help us transition our trucks and buses in the region to zero emission vehicles, as well as look at infrastructure readiness, needs, and costs. The project is funded by a grant from the California Energy Commission, and we have partnered with the Port of San Diego and the Environmental Health Coalition on these efforts. This team is currently working on a few key deliverables. So first off, there's the needs assessment, which we completed in January. We are now working on the draft siting criteria for vehicles and infrastructure. And then next we'll be working on the near and long-term implementation strategies, which will inform future investments in ZEV programs and policies for Sandag and other local jurisdictions as well. And then all of these are going to contribute to the final blueprint report. So some background on the policy and regulations that this blueprint is following. These are 3 from CARB. First off, there's the Innovative Clean Transit Program, which established zero emission purchase requirements for transit agencies. Then we have the Advanced Clean Trucks program or regulation, which sets ZEV sales requirements for medium and heavy duty vehicle manufacturers. And then last, there's the Advanced Clean Fleets, which is still in draft form, but it will set zero emission purchase schedules for public fleets. So now we provided some background on the project itself and the policy that is guiding the blueprint. So we're going to get into the report that we're looking at today. So that's the draft zero emission technology and siting criteria. The report is really to identify siting criteria and for charging and hydrogen infrastructure and fueling stations, and then also look at the technology side of things as well. So helping fleets identify what vehicle type might be best for them, so battery, electric, or hydrogen. So first we're going to go through the siting criteria because that's the first part of the report. You can see here on the screen that there are 5 key categories. So utilization, land use, equity, grid capacity, and environmental condition. And each one has sub-criteria or things to consider for each main category. I will go through most of them. We don't have a ton of time, so I really encourage you all to look through the report yourselves and provide any feedback that you might have. So first off, we have utilization. To make it a little simpler, we broke it into 3 categories. So for public charging facilities, so small, medium, and large. I'm going to just look at small for now. So small would be looking at 10 charging ports or 1,000 kilograms a day if you're looking at hydrogen. That would mean a minimum of 20 parking spots, a minimum of 1,000 vehicle trips per day. So what's passing by that facility. And then that means they could support up to 240 vehicles per day. And then when you're considering, your size, when it comes to utilization, you're going to want to look at vehicle volume, origin and destination, and dwelling time. Next category is land use. So looking at land space specifically, again, looking at the small, medium, large. If we pull aside the small facility, 10 chargers, minimum of 20 parking spots, that means you're looking at a land space of about 60,000 square feet. And then this will increase, as you can see, if you have more chargers, means more parking spots, you might have larger infrastructure, or you might be servicing larger trucks. So your land space will go up. And then these are some other factors to consider when it comes to land use. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some ones to highlight. Amenities, if you have some amenities on site, that's going to increase the size. Important to look at land use and zoning. And then also scalability for the future, for your future needs at the site. Next up is equity. So when it comes to approaching equity, the goal here is really to replace these trips and infrastructure with cleaner trips and infrastructure and not add anything. For the purpose of this report, we are going beyond the Cal EnviroScreen definition of a disadvantaged community and expanding to include low-income communities based on AB 1550. So our draft currently has two ways to consider looking at the distance to the disadvantaged community. So placing infrastructure within 5 miles of the DAC. And then another thing to consider is what could the direct benefit be to the DAC? So if there are 40% or more of these vehicles passing through that have a final destination in the DAC, replacing these with cleaner trips and cleaner infrastructure could really provide this direct benefit to the community. And again, these are not final. As I said, this is a draft, so we really would welcome your input and feedback on this section in particular, because it is a super crucial part of the criteria. So next up is grid capacity. So going back to the small, medium, large look at things, this just provides an idea of the energy usage for a charging station. And here we are assuming that they would be using 150 kilowatt chargers. We know that that's the minimum capacity, but we just wanted to provide like a baseline. And we did not include hydrogen on this side because we are still looking at those considerations. Hydrogen has lots of different variables to it, but we will be including one in the final report. And then these are just other criteria within grid capacity. So capacity, distributed energy resources, and cost of electricity. And then last but not least, we have environmental condition as our final criteria. Some things to specifically look at would be flood risk, CEQA and NEPA, and then soil contamination and brownfields. So we walked through the siting criteria, those 5 main criteria. But as I mentioned, the other part of the report talks about vehicle technology, criteria and considerations. So here are some listed here. These are just to give fleets an option to determine what vehicle type might be best for them and their needs. And the report does include a decision analysis tree. So it would be great to look at that and provide any feedback or maybe anything that we may have missed. Everything is helpful. But again, that's to help determine if battery electric vehicle or hydrogen would be best for someone's needs. Okay, so that was a quick overview of our siting criteria, including siting and vehicle technology. So here's a look at our project timeline. First off, I had mentioned our needs assessment was completed in January. So we have moved on to the technology and siting criteria. That's what we're looking at and working on now. We are going to be continuing to bring this to upcoming working groups and community workshops. So through this month and next month. But looking to finalize this at the end of May. And then next we'll be working on the near and long-term implementation strategies. I apologize, this should say summer, fall 2023. So we'll be doing that later this summer, early fall. And then that will lead into the actual draft blueprint starting this fall, not 2024. And then that will contribute to the final blueprint, which should be ready sometime early January 2024. So just to wrap it up, we will be sending this report out to you all so that you can provide your feedback and input. Like I said, we really welcome it, highly encourage it to take a look and let us know if we've forgotten anything or you'd like to stress any other parts of it. So we should have that ready for you in email, but please feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any questions, and we should have some time at the end of this presentation. So I will pass it now to Samaya, who's going to go into our next project.
Okay, thanks, Natasha, and hello, everyone. I'm going to start by providing an overview of the Accelerate to Zero Emissions Collaborative, or the A to Z Collaborative, as we call it. A to Z is made up of a core team that includes SANDAG, the County of San Diego, the City of San Diego, our Air Pollution Control District, and SDG&E. There's also two committees that are part of this collaborative. The first is our steering committee, which meets monthly, and this includes local government staff, community-based organizations, and academia. The other committee is our A to Z Advisory Committee. This also meets monthly and is open to everyone, including local governments, industry advocates, et cetera. The mission of this group and these three teams is to enable regional collaboration to curb air pollution and climate change through transportation electrification. So to achieve that mission, there are a few key objectives of the A to Z Collaborative. These are to attract public and private investment to the region, to develop EV programs, to encourage equitable access to electric vehicles and to EV charging infrastructure. And then lastly, to develop and implement two regional reports that I'm going to talk about today. Those are the EV gap analysis and the EV strategy. So just to quickly illustrate kind of the nexus between these two projects, we're using A to Z to develop the gap analysis and the EV strategy, which is what we're currently working on. These two reports are about transportation electrification for vehicles of all sizes and types. This is really supporting the blueprint and the work that we're doing to focus more on medium and heavy duty vehicles. So starting now with the gap analysis, this was published back in July 2021. The gap analysis uses research, data and modeling, and stakeholder engagement to identify existing conditions, barriers to EV adoption, and of course, opportunities in our region. So through these methods, our team produced this San Diego Region Zero Emission Vehicle, or ZEV forecast. This estimates that by 2030, there will be more than 770,000 electric vehicles in our region. And to support this forecasted growth in the EV population, we'll need more than 155,000 electric vehicle and hydrogen fueling stations. To clarify, this forecast and these estimates are based on the San Diego region's fair share of the ambitious state goals and mandates surrounding transportation electrification. So that's how we got these numbers. The gap analysis serves as the foundation for what we're currently working on, the EV strategy, so the second of those two reports. The strategy focuses more on implementation of what we found through the gap analysis and identifies some near-term actions for local governments to support EV adoption. So today I'll mainly be discussing the content of the strategies and the relationship between them and to our A to Z objectives. But I wanted to start by providing a quick overview of the development of this strategy and some of the methods we used. So this was a very interactive development process for this report. We conducted a lot of public outreach at events, so tabling at farmers markets and other community events, gathering public opinion and input, and we had things like interactive survey boards to kind of understand and transition from existing conditions to the strategy. We also conducted stakeholder outreach to workshop some of our concepts and initial ideas for strategies and actions. That was mainly with our advisory and steering committees. And then we undertook a more formal drafting process for the draft document between our core team and our consulting team. So in the summer, we should have a draft document that we'll of course share for review and comments. And I also quickly wanted to talk about the graphic here on the right. This is from the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. This is from a zero emission vehicle market development strategy that they developed a few years ago. And as you can see, they kind of conceptualized 4 pillars to accelerate EV adoption throughout the state. They are vehicles, infrastructure, end users, and workforce. These 4 pillars have really helped guide and inform the work that A to Z is doing, especially for the gap analysis and the strategy. So with that framework in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategies now. There are 10 of them. And like I said, we're still in the drafting and final review phase for that document. So I kind of taken the working strategies that we have and condensed them into the 4 themes that you see here on the screen. So I'm going to go through them. The first is the regional policy and coordination. Actions and strategies under this theme include policy discussions surrounding building codes, reducing policy barriers to meet zero emission vehicle fueling needs, working directly with property owners to accelerate station deployments, and determining electrical grid demand and utility program design. So having SDG&E as part of our core team has been really crucial in accelerating that strategy. The second theme is equity in EV charging and EV adoption. Strategies and actions in this category include supporting charging infrastructure implementation in rural areas, at multi-unit dwellings or multi-family housing, and especially focused in disadvantaged and low-income communities. And we're also working to reduce financial barriers to EV adoption. This strategy is part of the larger EV strategy, directly supports work that Sandag is doing, as we're currently working to develop a zero-emission vehicle incentive program. Our third theme is outreach, education, and workforce development. Through this, we're working with regional and local stakeholders to conduct accessible outreach to kind of inform the public and stakeholders about zero-emission vehicles and charging infrastructure. And we're also supporting regional economic growth through workforce development and training. So maintaining and leveraging partnerships with entities like the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Project to bring kind of larger community economic benefits as EV adoption accelerates. Okay, our fourth and final theme, fleet electrification. There's some overlap in this one. And again, this is kind of that relationship between the EV strategy and the blueprint that Sandag is working on. So there's, like I said, there's some overlap in kind of the actions here, but this is generally focused on working with fleet owners to transition cars, trucks, and buses of all sizes to zero emission technologies. So of course, the ask for you all today is we have an invitation to join the EV Strategy Advisory Committee. You are welcome to email me about it if you're interested in learning more. You can also visit our website, a2zsandiego.com, for more information about both the advisory committee and the steering committee, as well as our core team. So it has an overview of what these 3 teams do, some past meeting materials, and a list of members if you want to learn more, as well as the point of contact on there too. Next steps are to, again, share the draft EV strategy document with our working groups and policy advisory committees in the summer once available. So I'll be following up on that in a few months' time. With that, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your time today. Like Natasha said, we're happy to take any comments or questions now, or please feel free to reach out to either of us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was incredibly informative. Thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have any comments from the public?
I do have one public commenter on this item. Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks for this item a lot. I'm initially from the San Jose, San Francisco Bay Area, and San Jose works with Santa Clara County VTA. And that's the public transit service in Santa Clara County. And they're working on this exact same issue of the electrification process. They may be on a similar timetable. And I would much suggest you exchange notes with them. And I talk with them still. I attend their meetings, and I will mention the work you're doing here. Good luck to connect. And there was some earlier issues in the past with the electrification process that in other cities and other counties across the country that created problems and mistakes were made. And, you know, I know that VTA is starting again with this electrification process, and to try to learn from those mistakes, maybe to mention them here in future presentations. And so we know we're on a good course, and there will be concerns, and it's a a bit of a fragile process, but hopefully a really, really rewarding one. And this can be really good stuff possibly. And so I thank yourselves for this work, and good luck on how to explain, as we're going, how the process is going, and what can be the pitfalls and what can be the positives out of that. And thanks for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions or comments from working group members? Yes, and can you please state the name for those online?
Yes, of course. Alyssa Muto, City of San Diego. So great work that you're doing, and we do participate in the A to Z. I think what I want to bring up to the mobility working group, and maybe for future discussions, is conversations about fleet charging. So the money coming down from the federal government is really focused on public access to charging. And there's not a lot of money for us to really, as cities, or even as special districts and other entities, to obtain solid amounts of funding for fleet charging. And that's going to be a critical path for our compliance with the Air Resources Board. So I was hoping that Sandag could, that we could have more conversations about how to solve for fleet charging in the San Diego region, and what that might look like with shared agency charging yards or other investments around just getting the energy to locations, because that's going to be a huge investment regionally. And maybe that can be where we go next with some of the work that staff is doing at Sandag. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? I actually want to commend the work with working with EHC, which is a nonprofit that's very active in Barrio Logan as well as National City. Oftentimes we work in bubbles, and it's important to reach out to community that's already doing this work. And so thank you so much for that. I do have a comment regarding slide number 16. I don't know if you can bring it up. Love our aspirational goals that we need to meet by 2025 and 2030 to add more electric stations and more fueling stations. And a few years ago, maybe this conversation wouldn't have been around on hydrogen fueling stations, but I do believe in diversification when it comes to our fleets. And so I do very much appreciate it on here, as well as making them part of our goals in the next decades to come. And lastly, also want to commend, I heard this in another working group, going to public meetings like farmers markets and getting public opinion. I find that so critical and important for us as an agency to do. So thank you so much for continuing to do that work. Any other comments? Okay, so this was just an informational item. Why don't we move on to item number 6? We have a presentation from Garrett Fortin. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, from UC Berkeley Safe Trek Active Transportation and Safety Program.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so, and it's 4 times, so close enough. Yeah, so I will discuss some of our pedestrian and bicycle safety programs that we're offering with a focus to what's available to cities and communities in San Diego County right now. Excuse me. So for those who are unfamiliar, UC Berkeley Safe Trek, is a transportation safety research and education center, obviously affiliated with UC Berkeley Institute of Transportation Studies in the School of Public Health. We offer a few different programs that I will be sort of talking through today. Everything we offer is funded by the California Office of Traffic Safety, who we're very grateful for their support. And the bottom line of that is that all of these programs that we're discussing today are offered at no cost, open to the public, to anyone, cities, communities, individuals who are interested. So we can move on to the next slide. The next slide shows our CPBST, which is the worst acronym I'll have to introduce to you all. Our CPBST program is our flagship program. You can see all the little dots of the workshops we've had throughout the state over the past 15-ish years. The CPBST program consists of partnering with a community recruiting a local planning committee, identifying a focus area, often just a couple of intersections or a corridor, where the community or the city is having pedestrian and bicycle safety concerns. We then meet, do a walk assessment. The effort culminates in a community workshop where ideally folks from the agencies that are involved and residents work together to brainstorm and plan some actions to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety in the area. We write all that up in a report, and you can see an example of a report we did for Lemon Grove back in 2018 there on the slide. And then ideally, then this all rolls forward and we have next steps meetings, and we're able to put some things into motion on these next steps and not just leave it as a report. The important thing to note here is that we're partnering with 7 communities for the CPBST program in 2023, and applications are still open. So if your city is working on pedestrian and bike safety, or you're not, but you're interested in it, you're looking into ATP applications, I would say feel free to email me with that email that's right on the first slide, and it's in everyone's packet today. And I can share our application with you. I can talk more about it. And that's true of all of the programs that we're discussing today. So if we can move on to the next slide. We'll see another sort of interesting program we have, which is Comunidades Activas y Seguras, or CAES as we call it. It's somewhat similar to the CPBST in that it's working with communities on pedestrian and bicycle safety, culminates in a workshop that ideally involves agency staff and community members. And then that follows up into a report. The neat thing about CAES is that it is primarily designed to be Spanish first, though both programs are bilingual. The idea is that the activities in the CAES program are designed sort of with Spanish-speaking communities in mind. So we can see the example on the side here is teaching what we call safe system strategies, or the safe systems approach, which are pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements, in a sort of culturally relevant way. We see that it's a loteria game. And so you can see that it's cute and colorful. And on the bottom right of this sheet is a rapid rectangular flashing beacon. So a fairly sophisticated kind of pedestrian improvement communicated in sort of a fun way. The CAES program is closed this year. They were working with 3 communities, and they've got those 3 communities, but fingers crossed in the future, OTS will renew our grant, and we will be able to work with more communities. So that's an interesting idea for the future. We can move on to the next slide. So I'll introduce the Focus Regions program, which is the reason I'm sort of talking with you all today. Is the FHWA used to have a Focus Cities program that was looked at selected cities throughout the nation and focused on pedestrian and bicycle safety in those cities. San Diego was one of those cities. They've now sort of broadened their approach to the MPO level. And so you can see on the map that the Sandag, all of Sandag now is a focus region, and specifically a pedestrian safety focus region. And so we're using this focus regions approach to sort of renew and redouble our outreach to areas that we haven't done much work in the past. You don't need to go back to the previous slide, but if you remember that map, we just had a couple sort of arrows in San Diego County, and one of those was a pilot workshop way back in the day. So we only worked really once in San Diego County recently, in Lemon Grove in 2018. So there's clearly scope to do more. And so that's what we're trying to do with focus regions. Specifically with focus regions, we're offering, rather than these sort of multi-step, multi-phase safety workshops, we're offering more focused technical assistance on a few different topics. And if we go to the next slide, I'll talk about just a smattering of the topics that we're offering technical assistance on. So I'm actually going to start on the right side of our screen with TIMS, the Transportation Injury Mapping System. I suspect a number of you have heard of TIMS, but for those who haven't, TIMS is a UC Berkeley SafeTrek web-based tool that allows folks to look at SWIDR's data, so in other words, crash data, pretty easily. Look at it on a map, perform queries rapidly, compare them on a map, look at demographics of crash data and crash victims, and it's open to the public. It's open to everyone. It just requires a registration, and your registration is automatically approved. So it's pretty low-hanging fruit in terms of understanding crash data and understanding SWIDRs, which is a very powerful database. And then through the Focus Regions program, I can offer either sort of initial like introduction, sort of train the trainer, to TIMS training, or more advanced training, really zooming in on an area and learning how to use some of the advanced tools in TIMS to learn more about the crashes in the area, before and after comparisons, a number of different ways to use TIMS. So that's sort of the quantitative side of understanding pedestrian and bicycle safety challenges, and really all sorts of transportation safety challenges. On the qualitative side, we offer Street Story, which is another online tool from UC Berkeley SafeTrek. This is a website where anyone can enter on a map with a point or a line, transportation safety experiences that happen to them. And this is particularly complementary because SWIDRs will only contain crashes, right? And only injury crashes specifically, which leaves potentially a gap in the data where people experience near misses, or where people don't walk and bike at all because they feel it's too unsafe. And so a crash will never occur, which is good, but it's because people are avoiding the area, which is not. So Street Story allows folks to report not just crashes, but also near misses, safe areas and unsafe areas, and put them on a map. If you get enough data in an area, you can potentially use it for various kinds of analysis. In the questions that we have on Street Story, where people sort of talk about what happened to them, they can also suggest improvements for the area. And so in that sense, it can be used as a community engagement tool, not only to collect people's experiences, but to collect people's ideas of improvements in that area. And once again, Focus Regions, TA can focus on either talking more about Street Story, how to use Street Story, or indeed helping folks with Street Story. I will note that for outreach purposes and sort of outreach in areas that don't have internet connectivity, we have a paper version of Street Story, and the tool is completely in English and in Spanish. So it's able to be used in a variety of different communities. So with that, I will wrap up by saying thank you all, Sandag Mobility Working Group, for your time and for inviting me to introduce these resources to you. And feel free to contact me at that email address, fortinga@berkeley.edu, with any thoughts, inquiries, or anything, any questions about these resources. But I'm happy to take questions now as well.
Thank you so much for the very insightful presentation. Do we have any comments from the public?
I do have one public commenter on this item. Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks a lot for this item. Very interesting. And being initially from the San Francisco Bay Area, there's work of Oakland Privacy. There's work of UC Berkeley undergraduate school towards better civil protections in the future of technology practices of local communities. I'm interested how much this good group, sounds like an interesting good group. Their work with Caius is a really interesting program. I'm interested how much they, in the importance of bicycle and public safety practices, do they consider the civil protection policies of the tech that's all around these things? I think that's as I tried to mention earlier, a really important good future to make connections with and to understand a more holistic process and how to talk about the future of bicycle safety that I feel is important, incredibly important for sustainability issues, positiveness, and that community harmony that we're really searching for in the future of these sort of programs. So good luck in how to address this. accountability practices for Vision Zero things are really important, and I hope you can connect with the UC undergraduate program if you haven't already. And that, it's considered a bit conservative from Republican starting points, but the intentions of the program are so decent and whole. And I think there's a way to really make it an inclusive process for all parts of the community, or to make it a understandable process that can break bipartisan lines. And I'm waiting for that day. And it's just a matter we have to work together towards those good goals that I think creates a really interesting future for ourselves. Thank you.
That concludes the public commenters.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions, comments from this item? No? Okay, well, it's just an informational item. Moving on to item number 7. We do have a presentation regarding the next generation 511 transformer information system. That is by Suhasini and Stacy from the IBI group.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Suhasini Natarajan, and I'm a planner in the technology planning team at Sandag. Stacy is online, but I will be walking through the presentation today. I'll be providing an update on the concept of operations effort that we are undertaking to improve the existing 511 traveler information system, which we are calling the next generation concept of operations. To start, I want to provide some background on why we are developing the next generation 511. So the current system was implemented by Sandag in March of 2007. And this 511 system provides information on traffic, transit, and roadway conditions to users via telephone or interactive voice response, a recorded response, and website through the San Diego County. Sandag was an early deployer of the system, and it was state of art at that time. It has undergone a series of improvements and updates over time, but it's not aligned with the modern design best practices. And there is also a change in the needs of the region. For example, the data is siloed. The subsystems don't talk to each other. There's no real-time data. The design and function are not user-friendly. They're not optimized for mobile uses. And the options on current 511 are not multimodal. They don't support trips end-to-end. So it provides a lot of opportunities to improve. And another thing to keep in mind is that Sandag has undertaken a significant shift in innovative and proactive approaches to providing transportation options to the region. And one of the key components, as many of you would be aware, from the 2021 regional plan is the next operating system, or the next OS, which focuses on providing innovative options, an integrated platform for all users to access transportation options. And the 511 system will be the public face of the next OS. And it was critical that the system functions and features align with the overall purpose of next OS. So today I will be talking about what we are working on, where we are at, and along the way provide some key insights that we have gathered so far, and finally request feedback and input from this group. So what are we working on? So as a first step in the planning and implementation of technology, we are developing a concept of operations report, which essentially documents all the user needs and how the technology and data will be used for the proposed technology systems. The visual here on the slide that you see provides a high-level overview of the process we are undertaking and the foundational concept of the whole process. We have engaged with a long list of stakeholders through our project development team meetings, and to make sure we are soliciting input not only from transportation professionals, but also our partners and also the working groups who have relationships with the public. We also developed a user survey, which we will invite you to participate later in the presentation. And through the concept of operations, we will be documenting all the needs of the region and what the technology needs to address. So moving on, We covered what we are working on, and this slide here shows where we are at. So we talked about collecting stakeholder input, reviewing documents, and we are currently here where we are developing the user needs, where we are synthesizing all the information that we have received from all our workshops. We are almost at the end, but we would really like to use this opportunity to hear from the members of this group and as we develop the concept of operations report. So moving on to some overview of the things that we have done so far and the findings. We formed partnership with, we formed the project development team. It includes our partners in the transportation profession. You see the list here. We also wanted to make sure that we keep our commitment to get needs from community users and not just transportation professionals. And we want to make sure that we get the needs from the end users who will be actually using the system. So we have reached out to the community members through presentations at various working groups. And we circulated surveys in English and Spanish, and we got tremendous amount of input through all the exercises we have done with the PDT meetings and the working groups. So where all the work that I just described led us to establish the vision for the next generation 511, which is that San Diego 511 is used by everyone all the time, and it's a primary resource for all the traveler information needs. And through this process, we were able to establish our guiding principles, which are 4 that I hope you can read, that it's equitable, it's accessible to users of all ages and abilities, and especially in traditionally underserved communities. It's easy to use so that all users have excellent user experience. It's easy to navigate, it's clear, concise, and has accurate information. It provides options for personalization, and it's sustainable, so the system can adapt to changes moving forward. And all the discussions also helped us identify the key goals that we want to achieve through the implementation of the next generation 511. And we have 5 goals that we have listed here that will be overarching for the system. And as we got a lot of input from the working groups, the PDTs, and the workshops that we held, we got numerous number of needs that kind of sifted themselves into some certain themes that are shown here. So for example, timely network alerts. The user wants to know, is there a problem on my regular route? Will I be on time? Are there any incidents? Are there the multimodal trip planning? What is my shortest trip? What is my fastest trip? What's the greenest trip? So all our needs are currently being synthesized into these themes, and we are making sure that everything gets addressed. And when we develop the systems requirements or when we go on to develop the technology. This slide here shows a visual flow of how the current 511 system is kind of lending itself to the next generation version of it, and how it maps back to the goals that we have identified through our exercises that I just described. And we have a foundational document where we have all the needs documented from the exercises, and I'll be happy to provide a copy of this document to members of your staff or members of this working group if you would like to review and provide comments. Shown on this slide here is one example for one of the modes that we looked at. It says transit, but I think it should say roadway. The key 6 needs identified for a roadway system that need to be addressed and how they map back to our overarching goal for the system. So we have about 30 needs that we have identified for the various modes, and I will be happy to provide documentation on that part. So coming to the end of the presentation, as I mentioned before, we want to talk about what we want to hear from you. We want to learn what do the members of the mobility working group need from 511? We would like to circulate this link to take the survey. It's a very brief survey and we would like to hear from you. We will email this link out to the members after the work, after this meeting. So please feel free to complete the survey. We would really appreciate it. But if anyone would want to review the current findings or like to review the detailed needs report that we have circulated to the project development team meeting, I'll be very happy to share it. Please reach out to me and I'll be happy to take any questions now.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Thank you. I have one virtual commenter, Blair Beekman. Please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. I'll keep my words short for this item. I know LA is working on 211 and 311 issues, the same as San Jose. San Jose is actually developed in the late 2018s and 19s, really good 211 and 311 programs that may be of help in defining your this 511 program. And just wanted to mention those things at this time. And thanks a lot.
Thank you. That concludes the public commenters.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from working group members? Yes, Mr. May.
Minji May, City of Santee. One of the guiding principles that you mentioned is sustainable. So how's that supposed to work? Did the user supposed to pay a fee for it?
No, there's no fee for using the 511 system.
So how's that sustainable? Where's the funding source for that?
Funding, I have to get back to the exact to you on the exact funding source. But by sustainability, what we mean is how the system keeps up with the changing needs of the community. It's not just about running the system, it's about how the system meets the needs for the region.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because in my mind, sustainable means that the system is, sustainable by itself. There's funding sources that keep it going, so it doesn't run out of money at some point, and the system just dies. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
Hi, Nathan Schmidt, City of Carlsbad. Just a question and then maybe a suggestion. Just first, wondering, do you have any information on how people are currently using the 511 system? Are they actually calling into the hotline or are they going through the website? Just curious.
The statistics on the usage, but I can get the numbers to you, but I think the most common method would be the web portal.
Okay. And then just the suggestion as we're developing the plan, I think it would be important to reach out to local agencies, specifically our communication staff, because a lot of times our local residents, they see local agencies, they go to us directly for transportation questions, and they may not be fully aware of the 511 system. So I think it's important that we better integrate 511 within the local agencies, and the communication staffs are key members to do that. They're aware of all the social media outputs and how we communicate to our residents. So I would encourage you to reach out to them.
Appreciate that comment, will do. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? No, thank you so much for the presentation. Very much appreciated. This was just a discussion item. So moving on to the last item. Just our next working group meeting, our next mobility working group meeting will be Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? All right. Well, thank you all so much. We are adjourned at 11:10 a.m.